Yeah, sometimes when you kick off a series, it's like how specific, how general, how this, how that, and just had to get to the basics of it.
I liked the distinction between
And
mental health and mental illness.
Speaking of mental health,
yeah,
try and go on TikTok and look at all the nonsense about the eclipse. Oh my gosh, people.
Yeah.
Completely losing their minds, saying this and saying that. The path goes on this and that. And then they said, Bigfoot's going to reemerge because of giant Ohio or something like that. And now we're going to have Bigfoot coming out of the woods, man.
I wonder if Sean hit play yet. You hit play?
Maybe.
All right, perfect. So here's the thing.
The Bigfoot eclipse.
The Bigfoot
conspiracy.
Eclipse.
Makes me think that there's...
I'm a believer in Sasquatch. No, not actually. But it's fun, right?
Right, to think that. But then you have other ones, and this guy was convinced it was the end of the world. Convinced. And trying to tell her about another... Yeah. It was so crazy that you start to think, okay, man, there's some...
Jesus is coming back.
Mental illness.
Today. Forget that.
Well, the Jesus coming back, people have all kinds of ways that they do this and do that, but... Oh my gosh, there were some real crazy ones, and it's like, the Vikings used to think that it was a wolf that ate the moon, and so they run outside as soon as the eclipse started, and they start banging pots and pans and start screaming so the wolf would cough it back up. This is the Vikings. So we're not that far removed from that.
Why are we wasting our time with these cardboard box viewers, and why are we not just going to get pots and pans?
I don't know, man. It's kind of...
pots and pans, banging them together. That's fun.
But, the eclipse did serve as a good illustration for me to say...
It did.
Yeah. Like when we have something going on with our mental health, it's like the sun's shining brightly and all of a sudden something comes over it and clouds it a little bit. And it's like, man, I'm just not seeing as clear, not feeling like I should.
Yeah.
So...
It did give a good...
Kind of gave a good little thing to kind of let us look at.
For yesterday.
I think.
Which is great because... Now that you segued like that into our conversation here, I have no idea where Sean's going to start this video because we just rambled about the eclipse and if it's going to be a smooth transition. So
you might as well do an intro. Do an intro just in case he's nice
to us. Nah, don't be nice to us, Sean. Just throw it all out there. It might be Bigfoot. It could be the Vikings. It could be a werewolf eating the moon. Who knows? But but we'll be healthy. We'll be mentally healthy while it's happening.
Yeah, man. We're going out there. Matter of fact, it's happening pretty soon.
It is actually going to be soon.
I'm telling all the staff, let's go out and see it.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. It'll be good. Which it is a fun, in light of, speaking of mental health, like, getting excited about those little things and having, like, intentional break during the day to just be like, hey, this is really cool.
And it doesn't happen all that often. Yeah, go do it. Yeah, it's like, it's sunny and 60 degrees outside, and it's really a nice day to do that. I think. Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah.
Well, I thought the distinction you made like yesterday, actually, in all seriousness, between mental illness and mental health was really important to start a series on mental health because. Like, the thing you said was that even if you struggle with mental illness, you can still live a mentally healthy life.
That's right.
Which is so true. And something that I think sometimes we forget, like...
Yeah, you automatically assume if you're diagnosed with a mental illness, your life is done.
Yep.
No, man, you can manage that.
Yep.
It may take counseling, it may take medication.
Yeah.
But you can live a mentally healthy life.
And actually, if you've taken the steps that you need to take to reach the point of having a diagnosis, you've already displayed mental health
in just taking the step.
Doing that.
Yeah, so, exactly, man.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah,
huge.
because when I was saying that the United States Department of Health and Human Services says that when you assess mental health, it has to do with how you think, act, feel as one entity.
Yep.
How you manage stress, how you relate to others, and how you make choices.
Okay.
And all of those things they use to say, okay, you're in a good or bad mentally healthy place if those questions can be answered in the positive. And even going to get help Even if you're not diagnosed with a mental illness,
Right.
we always need someone to talk to or some kind of help that we
Yeah.
need at some point. That's a good choice.
Yep.
That's making a really good choice, and it's
Yeah.
managing the overwhelming things that happen to us on in our lives.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. It's true.
Yeah.
So we talked about Psalm 94 for a little bit, which I thought would be
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
place to start, because I just enjoyed that. I mean, it was 3 verses, right, that you read, but it was
Yeah.
such a good picture of.
Just 3. I'll
Yep.
read them. It says, "Unless the Lord had helped me, I would soon have settled in the silence of the grave. I cried out, I am slipping, but your unfailing love, O Lord, supported me. When doubts filled my mind, your comfort gave me renewed hope and cheer." That's just really a positive way to look at life.
Yeah.
Because we're always
Yep.
going to have the struggles. We're always going to have something pop up
Yep.
that is going to be somewhat stressful or confusing, and it puts us back in a place like, oh, what am I going to do here? And all of a
Right.
sudden, we realize that God is involved.
Yeah. And those 4 different things you pointed out of, like, you know, the credit to God, like pointing that it was God who helped me. Something that I think is funny sometimes, like, and I found myself here too, where it's my mind that's causing unhealth, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
but sometimes we get in our head that I'm going to use the same mind that is not healthy to think myself out of
Right.
the unhealth that's happening.
Right.
Like, you got to have something
man.
outside of that break the cycle, right?
That
You got to
is
have
right.
something come in and break that cycle of
I
unhealthy.
think that's a great way to look at that. Yeah.
And so God is often that outside source, like the truth of who he is. And so the Lord helping us, and then the point about being honest about what exactly is going on. Not just like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm a mess.
Yeah,
which
right.
is what you said yesterday.
Right.
But like, this is specifically how I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's a huge thing. And the more specifically honest that we can be, the more power you take out of that negativity.
Yep.
I don't know why that works, but it works. That the
It does.
minute we're honest with somebody, the minute we, even in truth telling and lying and things like that,
Yeah.
the power that a lie has over us when we tell the truth finally and it all of a sudden just comes off
Yep.
is the same way I'm talking about when we have something going on that we keep hiding and we say, you know what, I've got to share this.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling here, either with my thinking or some habit or something that I've chosen to do that's really wrecking my life and others. And if I can be more honest about that in a specific way and not just like you said,
Right.
yo, I'm a mess. Oh well, because that's what that's what our mindset is when we say it generally. I'm a mess. Everybody's a mess. It's all, you know, you're never going to get help. And it's never going to break the power.
That's true. Because
You know?
I think when it stays inside of us, it stays, you know, a big, like, gets scarier and it gets bigger and it kind of grows into this like monstrously large thing. Whereas when you say something out loud, all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Right.
anyway, that only took like a couple of seconds to say out loud. And then hearing the truth of what's going on, I think also helps us to process things. So sometimes I think like, you know, I'm pregnant, so my feelings are all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Things be going crazy at home sometimes. I'll be like crying one second and then super happy the next. But sometimes just saying out loud, like, I'm upset because I started this project and I thought it was going to go one way and it's not going that way.
Yeah.
And I don't have as much control over my feelings because there's hormone. Like, using all of these, like, just say facts about what's going on. All of a sudden you're hearing, like, wait, okay, there's reasons for all of this.
And
There's
that's
reasons
healthy.
I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing.
And it makes you feel like you're not going.
Now I'm not crazy anymore.
Oh, man, it's like,
Right.
I see it, and we can manage it at that point. When you put something on the table, you can start taking steps toward resolving it.
Yep.
When you keep something hidden, the person across from you is not going to help you because they don't know. You are not helping you because you won't let it out. And it's like, you know, so Yeah, I think there's a lot to say about that honesty piece. I mean, yeah, credit goes to God for anything good that we have happen.
Yeah.
And then just being honest, that's our step to take. Let's just
Yep.
be honest with God, you know?
He gives us the power to do that. He helps us to do that.
Yeah.
Because we know truth in his word, right? So we can use that filter to kind of say, like, this is what's happening in me. This is what God says about it. And then we trust him, right?
Yep.
That what
That's big.
he says is true
That
and
is big.
it does apply to me. Like, it's not just the, like, for God so loved the world.
Yeah.
And then there's no, like, asterisk at the bottom, right? That says, like, except for Sean, I hate that guy. You know, it doesn't say that. It says, it's all of us. It's true.
You know, and I think that is the number one in you can try and figure out any other way that we can determine whether we are growing in the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing is trust.
Yeah.
Do we trust him? Are we trusting him for our
Yeah.
lives? Are we trusting him for the hard times? It's another step that we have to take, though. Now, God gives us the power for it. Credit goes to him for any good thing we do. But when we're honest with God, and then we trust him for this scenario, even though we have no idea the way out or the breakthrough or how that's going to come, because we can't, like you said, in the place that we're in our minds, we can't conjure up the breakthrough.
Right.
We got to
see it. We're trying to think ourselves out of.
But trusting God is a big piece of that, being in a very healthy place, both theologically, spiritually, relationally with God, and so it's not easy, but that is a big component of our spiritual walk.
And you gave us a list yesterday of a few things that, like, we can trust that God says about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're a citizen of heaven, that we're his child, we're precious, we're honored, we're loved, we're transformed, we're part of something important, all of these things. And, like, but there's so many more in scripture. So, like, doesn't matter what we're experiencing, what I'm feeling. Like, if I'm feeling insignificant or, like, what is my purpose, we can go to 1 Corinthians 12 and say, no, I'm part of something important.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. That's who we are.
Yep.
And that's the truth of who we are. And it's not at all in any sense prideful for me to say about myself, look, man, I'm a child of God.
Right.
Look, I am honored. I am precious. I'm loved. I'm transformed.
Right.
I think a lot of people,
those are just true statements.
It's just true statements.
Yeah.
But we want to hide behind this humility, thinking that God is going to strike us down if we're not humble, and He's going to teach us a lesson. And it's like, no, dude, just lie on the truth. Like, not lie. Maybe that sounds.
Lay down
on the truth.
Yeah.
Lean into the truth. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
No, but when I say I'm precious, that's not me being conceited. That's me pointing to the Lord, and that's
what He thinks of you.
I am precious, but it's because of God, right? And so that's me saying, like, I am only that because God has put that on me. Yeah. And when we make that clear in those statements, I mean, there's no pridefulness in that, because that's just real.
It's just the truth.
It's incredible that it's real, but it is just the truth, which is awesome.
Yeah, man. We're part of something important. He has gifted us. He has given us skills. And when we allow us to see those skills that God's given us, instead of saying, I'm great at this. No, it's not about that. It's like, God, you have for some reason made me really good at this. Help me to use it for your purposes.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yep.
It's not admitting it. It's really saying, God, you've created me this way. And that's a very healthy thing for our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. I would love to talk for hours, because this is a topic we could talk for hours about. And we went through Psalm 139 yesterday. It was so fun the way we did that, but you did it so thoroughly yesterday. I'm going to just skip over those things.
Yeah, man.
But I thought that where we ended with Psalm 40 was cool. Psalm 40, 1-3. And just kind of like, hey, here's the outworking of this. Like, this is what will come. And it was the way we ended, so I just feel like that's something to go back to, because we didn't spend as much time on it, but
it was more practical, kind of just like, walk away with this kind of thing.
When we
apply
these things,
That's right.
Here's what it looks like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, going back to Psalm 94, what was the fourth word? It was renewal.
Renewal.
And
yeah.
so I feel like that's that place of healing and breakthrough and help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the practical outworking of Psalm 94 is found in Psalm 40. And it says, I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground and steadied me as I walked along. He has given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he has done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord. The waiting patiently. That's like God just saying, hey, I got it, man.
Yeah.
Got it. It's coming. It's coming. Yep. He turned to me, heard my cry, lifted me out of the pit, out of the mud, set my feet on solid ground, steadied me. And then he's given us a new song. It's like, man, that's part of that whole trust in the Lord thing, and just say, okay, God, this is practically how I'm doing it in a very practical, step-filled way. I don't know, like a orderly way that I'm really handling my mental health.
Yeah.
It's that. You know what I mean?
And knowing that we have this new song, right?
Yeah.
He's given us this new way to walk. So we don't have to stay in some of the unhealthy patterns of the world, which again, different than the mental illness. This is the mentally healthy, but there's a lot of unhealth around, which is where we were getting all those crazy things at the beginning with this eclipse of
I know.
There's a lot of people that are spiraling with this,
with their lives. But hey, you know what? I was at a function last night. I was at a police appreciation function, and it was really great. And I was talking to a lot of those guys, and a couple of them were at church, right?
Okay.
And they were like, man, that was a really good way to kick things off. And I was like, because everybody struggles with it. I said, I struggle with it. I have bad days of thinking.
Yeah.
Everybody has bad days of thinking that can spiral even more than what we've already allowed it. So it's a really good subject to talk about. Now, next week, we have a really, really interesting treat.
Yes.
Tom Wolfe is a guy I've known for a long, long time. He's a counselor. He was a pastor as well, but he does pretty much full-time counseling now and runs a whole ministry for men and their issues and problems. Really, really cool. He's going to be speaking to us, and he's got a whole different way he's going to approach this for us. And I think it's going to be really a good follow-up to what I've said and really meaningful to everybody. And that's next week, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. I agree with that because, again, you kind of said this yesterday, like mental health starts with myself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Lord shows us how to be mentally healthy, but we have to even believe that it's something we need to engage in, right? Because I think for some people that can be the beginning, and I know Tom is really good. I mean, his history is as a trucker, right? He was a truck driver.
He was a truck driver for 20 years. The Lord called him into ministry, and he's like, God, I think you're crazy because I'm not doing that, right? And then he ends up being in ministry, and then in ministry, he realizes that the focus of what God has been doing in his life is more counseling. So then he took all these counseling classes and still knows how to drive a truck. I think,
which is great and important. We need more CDL.
That's right.
But when you think of a truck driver, you think of like tough kind of guy, and a lot of times they're like not somebody you would think, oh, they're probably very mentally healthy, or oh, they're probably very like focused on being mentally healthy. Like
right, you just right. It's kind of a stereotype.
There's no one that this doesn't apply to.
Right.
There's not a single one of us on this planet.
That's exactly
that mental health doesn't apply to.
That's exactly right.
That's.
So hey, man, you do a lot of counseling too with people and help people through their things, and we've had to help people through our things, and it's just like it is what it is. We know the Lord wants to be involved in it. He wants to bring us freedom and healing and good thinking, and that's what this is all about.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right, well, it's getting close to eclipse time, so we should probably
that's true. That's true, man. We got to make our pinhole boxes.
Our cereal boxes. Let's go. Arts and crafts.
All right.
Have a good week, y'all.